If you had one shot or one opportunity to seize everything you ever wanted in one moment, would you capture it or just let it slip? Yo. His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom's spaghetti, he's nervous, but on the surface he looks calm and ready to drop bombs. But he keeps on forgetting what he wrote down. The whole crowd goes so loud, he opens his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's choking how? Everybody's choking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, loud. Snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Oh, there goes rabbit. He choke. He's so mad, but he won't give up. Daddies, he know he won't have it. He knows his whole back to these ropes. It don't matter, he's dope. He knows that, but he's broke. He's so stacked that he knows when he goes back to this mobile home, that's when it's back to the lab again, yo. This old rhapsody better go back to this moment and hope it don't pass him.
Listen, we can talk about the flag, but let's talk about... Wait.
And a very good evening, everybody. Welcome to Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. We're live. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Let's keep it going, everybody. Like, share, retweet, and click that subscribe button, thumbs up. If you want to get involved, we got lots of different topics on the agenda today. Make sure you head over to the Facebook, YouTube page. That way you can get your comments, your thoughts, your questions put right up on the screen so we know what the hell we're talking about here. We can answer everything right away. I am your host, Phil Stifel. As always, follow me on Twitter at Bearded Knowledge. Join me today for the fourth day in a row, my main man, Mark Moschitelli at Mark Wittes.
It's a record. It's a record.
A whole bunch of underscores in that, but make sure you shoot him a follow. One of the most underappreciated follows on Twitter right there is Mark Moschitelli. We got to get this guy to 1,000 followers or something like that, you know, because he's worth every second of that follow right there. So let's talk. We got lots to go over today. We're going to talk Phillies. Walk-off fashion again last night. Different thing, different energy with this team. So we're going to talk Phillies a lot to start the show. We're going to talk Gison. We're going to bust his balls since he is not here. The Mr. Ultimate Jinx guy there is. We're going to talk about that. We are going to talk Sixers. It looks like Sam Cassell will be on his way out, and another assistant might be going somewhere to be a head coach. And hopefully, you know, that doesn't backfire on the Sixers again. We're going to talk Flyers. It looks like they found their next guy to lead their team. NBA Finals Game 6 tonight. We got lots on the agenda, Mark. But, man, does yesterday's walk-off win, Garrett freaking Stubbs, okay, that's got to put him, for some reason, in my mind, and maybe this is just in my mind, I have this lore of the backup catcher in Philly. You've got the Todd Pratts, the Chris Coase, there's a lot of legendary backup catchers in this city's history. I think Garrett Stubbs, after yesterday, just jumped right to the top of the pecking order. That celebration when he hit that home run, I mean, the energy, that was a game they should have lost. They did everything wrong to lose that game. One hell of a moment right there. That's a season-defining moment right there.
Yeah, it was. And everybody loves a backup catcher. I'll throw another backup catcher out there, Sal Fasano. Sal Fasano. With a school man too. That was always a good one. But no, everybody, Andrew Knapp, who was a nice guy, but that was about it. He's a terrible baseball player. Had the
great story. Chris Coase had being like a 30-year-old rookie or whatever. Yeah. Todd Pratt was just bad, but he was so good. Steve Lake, he backed up Darren Dalton in the late 80s right there.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. And you could go all the way back to like Ozzie Virgil backing up Bo Diaz and we've had a couple decent catchers that are around. But yeah, everybody loves a backup catcher. Garrett Stubbs, he's having a great year as a backup, but let's not get carried away. I took a look at his career stats. He's batting like 3-something right now, and he, even with it batting a 3-something, he's a career 235 hitter, and he's played very sparingly for the Astros, and he was hit like 200, 175, 150. This is probably the best that you'll ever see as a backup catcher. If you're thinking about moving him into the starter role over JT, like that's not going to happen. But hey, kudos to him, because when he gets his chance, he performs. He did a great job catching behind the plate, and obviously he hit that 3-run home run, which was I don't know if you heard Scott Francie's call on it. I think it was the best of the three of them. Dude, the excitement that you hear in the voice, it really like makes you think, like, is this team for real? Like, is this the real team, or is it Joe Girardi led team? Was that the real team? And as each day goes on, as each game goes on, I'm thinking what you're seeing now is the team. And if that's the case, and I said this before, we're going to have a fun summer. And it was just a great win and a great series win.
That's the key there. And you know what? I was gonna say something, but the series win is big right there, because what is it with this Phillies team always struggling? They put up in the middle. I had the game on Pizza Shop yesterday. I love those day games because an afternoon game at the Pizza Shop, it's right at the time when the day is slowing down, before the dinner rush, after the lunch rush. You can watch the game, and they put up the record of the Phillies amongst the division this year. And it seems like it's been a reoccurring theme for so long that we've been just so bad against our division opponents. And getting a win against the Marlins, a lesser team, a good team, but a lesser team, and a team that's beaten us pretty badly. It's a huge, huge moment getting that series win yesterday. Huge moment.
Oh, I think so. And it's a big confidence booster. Again, these are games that they lose under Joe Girardi. And for each game that they should have lost under Joe Girardi that they win, it's just going to boost their confidence that much more. Now, listen, they're not without fault. I mean, they should have scored some runs yesterday, especially when Rhys Hopkins let off on that triple. Are you telling me you can't hit a fly ball to get that man home?
Yeah.
I mean,
Rhys Hoskins hits in the 2-hole. That means you had your third, fourth, and fifth hitter up, and all three of them hit a ground ball, and one right at people. Like, this is a game that under Joe Girardi, like you said, they lose this game. There was multiple moments in this game, multiple things that said we are losing this game. You had a pitching performance from Kyle Gibson, out of control, great, amazing pitching performance. You had your manager pull Kyle Gibson out with 86 or 88 pitches, whatever it is, when he was clearly cruising, and somehow the bullpen didn't blow that.
He pitched into the ninth inning, though, didn't he, Phil?
Well, I missed a few moments. I mean, he's got 8 innings. Maybe he started the ninth inning. Maybe.
I think he did.
Okay, maybe he pitched a batter or two in the ninth inning there, but still, 89 pitches, 63 strikes, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, no walks, 7 hits. I mean, that you reward that guy. Let him go till his arm's falling off at that point. I mean, I'm pretty sure Odubel had a boneheaded play yesterday too. I for some reason
he did.
Unless it's ingrained in my head that every game he's got a boneheaded play. I can't remember what he did yesterday.
He thought he ran outside of the baseline when he didn't, and they missed the tag, and he was and then he tried to go back to the bag, and he got tug out. Like, again, that's situational awareness, which he has at none. Like, he didn't call him that. The umpire was right there. They're looking at each other. He did not make a call, the umpire, and he's like, he overran the bag, and then he was like, oh, shit, they didn't call anything. Let me try to get back to the bag. Then they tug him out. Just, again, I mean, like, how many more of these do we have to put up to say this guy, just move on from him, please? Just please.
Yeah, I mean, you just look at everything along the line right there, The Odubel, the 3 groundouts with Rhys on third, no outs. Runners up, 2 guys caught stealing yesterday. There was so many things. Okay, so maybe he was losing it there towards the end. Like I said, that game ended right when I had some big pizza orders coming in. So I honestly, I'm sitting there watching the 9th inning. I see 2 batters get on base for Stubbs, and then I had 12 pizzas come in, and I missed the Garrett Stubbs home run. I had to watch the replay because, of course, they wouldn't come in the middle of the game. They come in right when Garrett Stubbs is hitting a 3-run home run.
It's always that way.
Yeah, it always works that way. So maybe I missed that, and that's my bad if I did. But still, an excellent performance from Kyle. That's the type of performance that we blow under Joe Girardi. We waste that pitching performance under Joe Girardi. So everything just keeps happening and lining up that a team, like you said, is this the team or was that the team? This team doesn't seem to waste these moments. This team doesn't let those bad moments keep them out of a game. You've got to think, Mark, that at this point, there's no point in any game that you feel like the game's over, except for like the 14-1 or whatever it was blowout, a couple games ago. Outside of those kind of situations, you've got to think this team's in every single game till the last out.
And that was what our expectation was at the beginning of the season. And we said that there was going to be a lot of 10-9 games and things like that. As long as that lineup, the most of them are hitting, you have a chance every night. Now, one thing that they didn't do well yesterday was batting with runners in scoring position. They were 1 of 11, 1 for 11, and the one was the 3-run homer at the bottom of the ninth. So they do need to get better with stuff like that, and they can't go into a hole and not produce that way. Not asking them to hit a home run. Just make some contact on the ball and let it find a hole somewhere where you can move the runners on or can get a run or two. You could call it small ball or whatever it is. With Rhys Hoskins on third, and I just keep going back to that. Like you said, you had your 3, 4, or 5 hitter. Like even the sac fly, like there's no reason why that guy should not have scored. He needed to score, and you just can't let those opportunities fall through, especially when you start playing your Mets and your Braves and your other higher caliber teams. You gotta capitalize on situations like that. They can get away with it with the Marlins and the Nationals, but if they're going to really contend, they have to get this thing right. It's a work in progress, but I mean, we'll see.
I mean, so at what point, though? I mean, obviously we're on a hell of a tear. We've lost 2 games out of the last 10. 2 of the last 11 since Rob Thompson took over. At what point do you start thinking about the big picture? I know I talked about, right from the get-go, baby steps, like try to get to 500, try to win a series, try to make incremental. Don't think big picture at this point of the season. But as this run continues to go on, you start to think in the back of your head, well, is this team really what we thought they were? And yeah, they're playing catch up from their, past there earlier in the season. At what point do you start thinking, all right, well, maybe we do need to see, I keep preaching, just let it ride with what we've got, and between the minor leagues and up here. But at some point, you got to think if this run keeps going, that Dombrowski is going to have to make a move or two to improve some situational hitting, to improve the bullpen, to improve whatever he can. At what point of this run, or how far does this run have to go till you start thinking like that instead of the small incremental steps?
Well, they made a big move yesterday. They designated Familia for assignment, and they brought up Mark Apple. I don't know if you saw that or not.
I did not. Wait, hold on. You would think that would have been all over social media. I did not see that one bit.
I'm pretty sure. Hold on. Unless somebody sent me a shitty. I fell for it. Dude. Yeah.
You fell for the fake stuff.
I fell for that friggin' tweet. Shit, dude.
Yeah, you idiot. Oh,
all right. Nix that. Well, they should. Listen.
You're an amateur.
Oh my god! So yeah, I fell for a bad tweet, but yeah, they should. That's one thing. Kata, I saw you replying to that tweet that you got duped too. So don't be talking shit.
Create another burner account, Carter, and just dupe Mark all the time. I mean,
it looked totally official, and somebody texted it to me, said, "Yo, dude, you were right because I've been calling for it all the time." And damn, but they should make that move. That move. Oh, dude. No, they should. That is a move that they need to make.
That's the in-house not making any changes.
But that's a big move, dude. I mean, like that's because you're. I mean, we talked about the relief pitching yesterday. Like, yesterday this game really didn't matter with the relief, but you're not going to have those pitching gems from your starters every game. So you're going to have to do something. And you cannot let the bullpen ruin good pitching outings by our starters and ruin good hitting performances by our lineup. Like it's a glaring issue, and something does have to be done. And if you're not willing to make the big move, the big splash, the big trade, then you need to look really deep in what you got in your minors and interchange these guys because that's really all they are.
So let me phrase it this way, because like I've been keep saying, like, just keep it within. If you call guys up from the minors, whatever. But then I was reading an article this morning before the show, and it was just a general SI article, from one of the small writers, and it was talking about two Cubs relievers, Martin, who pitched for the Braves last year, and our good friend, what's his name, that pitched 3 innings in 2 years for us. I always forget his name.
David Robertson.
David Robertson. I always want to say Stevenson, but Robertson, who's having a great year with the Cubs. They're both guys that are on the trade market. Both guys have playoff experience. Both guys, well, Robertson's pitching great. Martin's having slightly down year this year, but the article went into all his extra detailed analytic stats that say he's better than his stats say, blah, 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 which I don't buy into. But going to the Cubs and saying, give me both your best 2 relievers with playoff experience. One guy just won a World Series last year. Give us your 2 guys. It's going to cost you a lot to get those 2 relievers from the Cubs, and both are on 1-year deals, so they're both rentals. At what point do you say, how far does this run have to go that you're like, all right, I'm all in, and this team is actually way better than what we originally were. We're going to go all in, make these moves, and give up trade pieces, whether it's guys on the active roster or guys in the minor league system. At what point do you do that?
I see through to July. I would say just to make sure that this isn't just a flash in a pan. I don't think it is, but I think if they continue to play like this, I don't think they have a choice. They do have to make a move. And as much as I would love to see them trade somebody on the active roster for one of these guys, that's just not going to get it done.
What about Mark Apple? He's down there in AAA. He's 30 years old now. What if the Cubs say, hey, you can have Martin, or you can have, you can have either of these guys, but we want him. I
would do the deal then.
Yeah.
I would do the deal with a proven commodity versus somebody who's just, starting to find his way at age 30. I would do something. Has to have the roster can't continue to stay intact. Because you're saying like, hey, ride it out, don't make any moves at all. I think they need to tweak things. I don't think they need to do a massive overturning of the roster, but I do need to think addition by subtraction by certain guys, and just bringing in, even if it's a new arm or a new face, I think could help.
Some fresh blood.
Yeah. I mean, listen, they've been doing it for 5 years. They've been keep bringing guys in and out and who they think might be the guy, and nobody's worked. Eventually somebody will have to, And maybe that Robertson guy, maybe he wants to come here to prove that, he can pitch, and things didn't go well during his tenure here. Sometimes you want a redemption, and he probably wouldn't mind coming here. And honestly, for those relievers, I don't think you need to give up too much. I don't think you give up top-tier prospects, but mid to lower or cash considerations in combination with a player or two.
I don't know. I think bullpen help always gets, like, at this point in the season, we talk like that, but then come closer to mid-July when the deadline comes, every team that's in playoff contention wants bullpen help, so they actually end up getting traded for more than you think. Now, you're not going to give up an Andrew Painter for a Robertson, obviously, but an Apple and somebody else that's, mid-level prospect, it's going to cost 2 or 3 of them to get somebody like him, or an Apple and I know we want him gone anyway, but an Odubel Herrera type player, someone hitting 270 that, that's on the big club.
Odubel Herrera will only work on a team that's in contention that needs bench help. And honestly, I haven't seen the records of the Cubs to see where they're at, if they're going to catch up to Milwaukee or not. But
yeah, we do need a closer, Carter. I 110% agree with that, but we might already have that guy in Sir Anthony Dominguez. And, I love that Rob Thompson came out before yesterday's game or after the other game, that he's going to back Knievel off of that closer role. I think that's super smart. And I'm glad that he said it. He even phrased it the right way, where he didn't say he's lost the closer role. He said he's going to back him off from the high leverage situations till he gets himself right. But then he went in and went the wrong way and said, well, we're going to go by closer by committee type role, instead of just saying we're going to put Sir Anthony in there. but it's now Sir Anthony's job. Maybe Connor Brogdon too. Connor Brogdon's been pitching really, really well out of our bullpen. He's got some spunk to him too that you want out of a closer. But Knievel, saying that about the way he said it about Knievel, you back him off. And if somebody comes in and steps in and takes over that role with success, then you don't have to put Knievel back in that role. You can put him into the 8th inning and 7th inning and stuff like that where he belongs anyway. So I'm not ready to go out. Mark says, these mid-level relievers, don't get, a mid-level prospect. You want to go out and get a closer. It's going to cost you a hefty penny in the trade market to go get a legit closer. That's the spot where I'm willing to take the flyer on, at least this year, because I'm not giving up Painter or one of those top prospects for a closer for this year.
No, I'm not either. But to your point, though, it just when you mention like these relievers are going to cost money, I just keep harkening back to the Boston Red Sox years ago made a deal for Larry Anderson for their pennant run, and they traded Jeff Bagwell, who was a prospect at the time. So I just that sticks in the back of my head. Like, do you really want to risk something like that? Especially you have a team that, let's be honest with you, they're all in their late 20s or early 30s in your in the positions that are important. So like we really, really need to build up our farm system so we can start replenishing the active roster when these guys start to age out or we trade them or they no longer become efficient. So I'm conservative when it comes to our farm system, even it being as barren as it is. Are you in it for a one-shot deal or you want to be in it for the long haul? I'd like to get to where we were from like 07 to 11, where every year it was no doubt you were winning the division and we're going to go far in the playoffs and maybe go to a couple World Series and win one. I want to get to that point.
Our farm system was so stacked that you just think about it. Every single year we were making trades that we gave up guys for Roy Halladay, Cliff Lee, Hunter Pence, Roy Oswalt, all these guys. Michael Young was a free agent signing, I think. But we just kept having these guys that we could move every single year because our farm system, and it never stopped. We had a great pipeline of young guys, and unfortunately, again, that all came back to Ed Wade. Ed Wade drafted and built a farm system fantastically, and he never really got the credit. We had that conversation during the I Am Sorry episode a few weeks back. Ed Wade never gets the credit for how well he developed our farm system. And then he goes on to Houston and does the exact same thing. So, we don't have that right now. We've got a few pieces, but honestly, 90% of our farm system right now is untradeable because they're not worth anything. So I still think like you say get into July. I still, to an extent, like obviously I want to see Odubel get traded. I would love to see a real center fielder out there, but I'm keeping it in house as much as possible. Hell, I would rather trade Odubel for a prospect than trade a prospect for somebody else and then just move Matt Vierling into center field or Mickey Moniak back into center field, whatever it may be. Because honestly, looking at the standings, we're 3.5 games out of the wild card. I know it's early, whatever. We got one team ahead of us, the Brewers, and then the Giants are in that last wild card spot. I mean, but are we really going to catch the Mets? Are we really going to beat the Mets in a playoff series? Are we going to beat the Dodgers in a playoff series? You would have to make so many moves at this point to improve this team that it's not going to happen. So you just ride it out and learn what you got. You give some more young guys some opportunities, and you just grow. You just keep working this team. And then next year, when you've got Didi off the books, you've got Segura off the books, you've got money to spend, then you go out and get yourself whatever else you need, and you go from there.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. But I don't know if I agree with you 100% that you're not going to be able to beat the Mets or the Braves or the Giants or whoever, Dodgers. I think once you get into the playoffs, I think anything can happen, and I wouldn't sell them short on a short series. I mean, especially if those bats are hot, they can outscore. They could play with any team. I mean, look at their offensive numbers, and they're among the tops in all of baseball with all of their offensive numbers. So if you're telling me that they can't win a short series, I kind of disagree with you, man. I think they can. I think they could steal something here or there.
Especially, the only thing I will say to agree with you in the shorter series to start the playoffs, you've got Zach Wheeler and Aaron Nola going 1-2. You're going to take at least one of those games, if not two, because that 1-2 punch is one of the best in baseball right there. So on that end, on the shorter parts of the beginning of the playoffs, that I could see potentially happening right there. But to get back to Casey's point here, we don't want to trade prospects. We need homegrown, develop some guys. I mean, you look at the Phillies from 07 to 11, 06 to 11. I mean, a lot of the guys, we added pieces, but we had the homegrown guys. And I kind of feel like, you look at the Astros and their runs. A lot of these teams that make long, sustained runs, yeah, they buy pieces. The Yankees buy pieces. But they always got their core homegrown guys. What core homegrown guy do we have on this roster right now that is really like a real major, part of this team? You got Aaron Nola and you got Rhys Hoskins. That's about it.
That's it. And take a look at your
hot right now, but he's been really bad.
Take a look at your 08 team. Homegrown at first, second, shortstop, catcher, your ace, your left fielder. They were all homegrown guys, and that was the core of your team. And you don't see that here. They have been forced to purchase all the core of their team because their farm system has been so terrible. And now that what you have to do as an organization, you've purchased your team right now. But for the future, 5 years down the road, when these contracts start expiring or where the player's talent really dips, you have to have your homegrown talent ready to take those spots. We are nowhere near that right now.
The thing is, though, if you keep trading the few pieces you've got, you'll never get to that point. But the other side of that argument is you're already at a point where you can make the playoffs. So do you wait 5 years to completely finish reshaping the minor league system to get guys up to the bigs, or do you just keep buying your play? Like there's no in between right now at this point. You either let it ride with what you got while you're developing this farm system and just be a fringe playoff team, or do you sell what you do have to get that team over the hump? It's a really tough thought process right there.
I would sell guys for the sake of moving guys up from the farm system, like an Odubel Herrera. I mean, you already essentially did it with Bryson Stott, but like Didi can probably go, and he probably would go if Segura was still here because Stott would be playing shortstop. So I agree with you, Phil. I think you do it that way, like get rid of the clogs in the system and bring up who you can from the minors that may be ready, but don't give those guys up for yet another short-term solution.
I mean, that kind of like goes right to the Ryan Howard was being blocked by Jim Thome. You almost took it. You could have hypothetically said they were taking a step back by getting rid of Jim Thome, but they did it so that they stopped blocking the young, talented Ryan Howard. And that's kind of what they did with Odubel and Didi and Segura, et cetera, like that.
If Thome never got hurt, we would have probably traded Howard someplace else.
Possibly.
And again, going back, I mean, what angered me is like, why did you sign Thome if you knew that Howard was such a smasher of homers down in the minor leagues? Why wouldn't you? Why did you do that? And I kind of know why they did that. They needed an attraction for the new ball.
It was a publicity thing. It was a 100% publicity thing. I actually compared to what the Washington Nationals did by giving Jason Worth that big contract. They overpaid for somebody to tell their city, yo, we're back. We're going to make a real effort to turn this organization around. And that's what they did with Jim Thome. They gave him that big contract because you remember him walking around shaking hands with all the construction workers?
Yes.
Hitting home. He was hitting, home runs in the parking lot and stuff like that. I mean, it was all a publicity stunt, and it worked. 110% worked. And the Nationals did the same thing. And you look at it, by the time the Nationals won and were making their runs in the playoffs, Worth wasn't the elite player anymore. They were overpaying him at that point. But you know what? That was kind of their turning point. Let's go out and spend some big money, which we've never done. And then we bring up Bryce Harper and Steven Strasburg to complement that. And that's kind of what the Phillies did. They bring in Jim Thome, then they bring up Chase Utley, Ryan Howard, and Jimmy Rollins. And then, and that's the kind of the blueprint that we need to do. But unfortunately, we're in an awkward time frame right now with this organization. Too many guys brought in, not enough guys to bring up. And the only way to get the current guys over the hump is to trade some of those young guys that we can't bring up yet. So it's kind of a really awkward situation.
It is, and they have nobody to blame but Matt Klentak. I mean, he's just going back to that dude.
You can blame Klentak and McPhail. You can blame them both.
Yeah, their blueprint did not work. It did not work. And I'm hoping Dombrowski's is a hell of a lot better. I think it is going to be better. The only thing I'll say, I mean, he does have a track record of going with his veterans. He hasn't had the greatest of track records with farm systems. But listen, overall, his professional track record is really good. So it just he does things different than what I think would want to see. So I know, honestly, the cheaper way to go too, and the Phillies have always been fiscally responsible until the season, is going through your farm system and locking up your players early. And we just don't have the players to do that right now. So we don't.
Right. So we starting today. We got a 5-game series this weekend against the Washington Nationals down in D.C. You got the doubleheader on Friday, which we don't have a starting pitcher listed yet for the second game of that. So it'll probably be a bullpen, or it'll be Falter from AAA that gets called up to pitch that game. We talk about what does this Phillies team have to do to say, hey, we're going to go all in. Well, something that they need to do is come out this weekend and win 4 out of these 5 games. That, to me, would be a major statement. Now, 3-2 in D.C., I mean, that's acceptable for what this team is currently on paper. But 4-1, or hell, sweeping this 5, I know it's impossible, almost impossible to sweep a 5-game series. But something like 4-1, that makes a statement that, hey, this is legit, this is real, this is who we are. But how do you actually see it playing out?
Only because they have that double header jammed in there. I think if they do go 3-2, it's a victory in my books. Right. I'd love to see 4-1 and 5-0. Anything less than 3-2 is a problem. Yeah, and I mean, they kind of lucked into the series win yesterday with that home run. Let them ride that high. But, they can't go backwards in this series. This series, I mean, the Nationals stink. They're in last place. You got 5 games against a really bad opponent. Are you going to play up to your level, or are you going to play down to your opponent? And this is a really good telling series to see, like you said, what are the Phillies really about? I think that if they go 3-2 or better, then I think we got ourselves a squad. If they don't,
Nationals play Maikel Franco and Cesar Hernandez on a semi-regular basis. So that just tells you how bad the Washington Nationals are.
It's terrible. It's terrible. 2 of my least liked Phillies of all time.
I actually was a Cesar Hernandez fan.
Hated that guy.
I liked him, man. He got on base at a decent clip for a guy where his talent was. He overachieved. He was an overachiever. He did better than he should have with the talent he did. I love overachievers. So, he wasn't as bad as people think with the glove. He had some big key hits in his Phillies career here and there, randomly sprinkled in. I liked Cesar Hernandez. And Maikel Franco, I just could never understand how many times that guy would swing and miss at a pitch and his helmet would fall off. Didn't somebody ever think to put some stick-em on under there or something like that? Nobody could ever teach him to not come out of his shoes on every swing. Put some stick-em on under that helmet. The wide receivers do it to catch footballs. Put some stick-em on that helmet. You know what I mean? Because
he was one of those guys that I think you were hoping to be like the next great power hitter, corner piece, and he didn't have it. He just didn't have it.
No plate discipline from him and stuff like that. Yeah, exactly. Let's win games early, not in the 9th inning. That would be nice. but the ninth inning wins are dramatic. All right, so real quick before we move to the next topic, I do want to call out Mr. Jason Voorhees. So anybody out there that needs something to happen, send a message to Jason Voorhees on Twitter at Mustang3651. He will text or tweet the complete opposite, and then it will happen, whatever you want. So yesterday at 4:18, I get a text message of the Phillies suck, this, that, and the third. Why is the exact text was the Phillies suck. Garrett Stubbs should not be batting in this situation. And then literally at 4:19, Garrett Stubbs hit a home run. And at 4:20, I get a text message saying Stubbs with exclamation points and cheering emojis and stuff like that. So literally he said, Garrett Stubbs sucks. Garrett Stubbs hits a home run. And now he's happy and a Garrett Stubbs fan. Last year, he said trade Bryce Harper. Bryce Harper sucks. Get him out of town. Bryce Harper has such an amazing second half of the season that Bryce Harper wins MVP. So Jason has a track record of calling out somebody or doing something and the complete opposite happening every single time.
It's like that. It's I'm sorry, dude. It's like that episode of Seinfeld. If everything you do is wrong, then the opposite must be correct. Yeah. So every time he has some shit to say about a player,
it works.
I'll bet on him. I'll bet on the player.
I'll bet on the opposite of what he says.
Whatever the opposite is, yeah, he's a little bit of a jinx there. That's
he's the reverse jinx.
I mean, but to his point, like you have first and second with Stubbs up. Was there a better guy on the bench to sub in there?
I don't know.
Like the answer is probably yes.
You'd already pinch hit at JT earlier in the inning, which JT looked awful in that at bat, by the way. Just so you know, because there's a ground ball, a foul ball that he hit in that pinch hit to the dugout, and he lost control of his bat. It flew off and stuff like that. So you'd already pinch run with Matt Vierling. JT Realmuto had already pinch hit, and Munoz, your backup infielder, had already pinch hit. So I don't even know who else was on the bench at that point then. So there weren't many options. There weren't many options left, honestly. So, you know, maybe there wasn't really a better option at that point. So, just something to think about there. All right, what's that?
It worked out in the end.
It worked out because Jason put the reverse mush on him. So, yeah, exactly. So Mark, whatever you plan on doing today, do the complete opposite, and it'll be
absolutely.
It'll be a success.
I was planning to do a lot of housework. I think I'm just going to go take a nap.
I think I like that idea. But before a nap, we still got 25 minutes left here in the show, so we got more topics to talk about. All right, so we're going to transition to some Sixers talk real quick. It seems like the Utah Jazz are interviewing Sam Cassell, Sixers assistant coach, for their head coaching, their vacancy there. And I'm furious right now. I have zero clue if Sam Cassell is a good head coach or would be a good head coach. I have no idea. No clue. But we've already seen the Sixers give up on multiple assistant coaches to keep Brett Brown and now Glenn Rivers as their head coaches. And all these other guys that they've let walk away have gone on to prove to be really good coaches. And the Sixers just keep sticking with the same old. It seems like Glenn Rivers is going to be back to start next season, which I think is a huge mistake. So the question is, Mark, are they making a mistake by keeping Glenn Rivers and not trying to find a way to promote Sam Cassell, or at least talk to Sam Cassell? Because we've seen it in sports before. We've seen it with Josh McDaniels for a while with the Patriots. They kept paying him an enormous amount to be an offensive coordinator to eventually be the de facto replacement for Bill Belichick. Now, I know he moved on this year, but, are the Sixers making a mistake by letting Sam Cassell find himself a job elsewhere?
I think they're making a mistake for allowing Glenn Rivers to continue to coach the team, and the byproduct is that you are losing these assistants because it wasn't under Doc, but wasn't the Celtics head coach also an assistant on the Sixers squad? You have Monty Williams, who's done a nice job in Phoenix, and now you got
franchise around.
Yeah, and Sam Cassell. And listen, don't fault Sam. It's not his fault. Like he wants to be a head coach. So, and I think the players like him a lot. I think he shows those leadership qualities. He was a point guard on those Rocket teams that won in the 90s. So he's got he's got like the mentality to be a coach, because you have to be, because you're the floor general when you're in that position. I don't fault him for interviewing, but are the Sixers going to dump Doc and elevate Sam? I don't think they're going to do that either. I think they would have liked Doc Rivers or Glenn Rivers or whatever the fuck you want to call him. I think they really wanted him to walk away.
Teach your son to talk like this, Big Ed. I mean, listen to him.
Doc Rivers is a very frustrating guy.
He absolutely is.
And I really think the Sixers, they wanted him to go to LA or walk away, like so they can not pay him. And again, that would be like a business transaction that they don't want to keep. We talked about this in a previous show. How many coaches do you want to be paying on the books for the Sixers at high dollars? So I think they would have liked him to move on, and he didn't. So they're just going to run it back, I guess. I mean, maybe they keep Doc, and maybe Sam doesn't get a job. Maybe they fire Doc somewhere in the fall, 20 games in when they're not performing, and they elevate Sam like they did, like the Phillies did. They take the Phillies Brooklyn.
But that's my actual fear, is that they have to. We as the fans see that Doc's probably not the answer here, and we lose Sam Cassell, and then they still have to get rid of Glenn 20 games into the season, and now you're promoting somebody else on the bench that might not have the same pedigree that Sam Cassell has.
Well,
that's my fear.
Do you think he wants? Do you think he's going to get that Utah job?
I don't know if he's going to get it or not. But the thing is, there's going to be quite a few people interviewing Sam Cassell. If Sam Cassell wants to head coach in this upcoming season, he will have a spot on a team he's going to be the number one interviewed guy for jobs this offseason.
How many openings are there right now? I know Utah. The Lakers filled theirs.
I'm not sure who else is out there. I honestly, for some reason, I don't know that off the top of my head. Let me look at these teams here. Knicks, no. Toronto, no. Detroit, I don't think does. The Pacers, I don't know if they do. They might. The Magic, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think there's a lot of openings right now, and I don't think you're going to see any more.
It's interesting. So, I'm not, but I still, like I said, I don't want to see. Look, I brought it up before, especially in basketball and football, the younger, more innovative coaches seem to be the ones that are having the most success in their respective leagues. And the older guys like the Glenn Rivers of the world just don't quite have the success anymore. The Joe Girardis of the world aren't the ones having the success anymore. And Sam Cassell's that younger, I mean, he's not young, but he's a younger, more, fresher face, for a head coach. We're making a big mistake there. And I think it's going to cause a big problem in next season when we have to fire Glenn Rivers. We talked about how bringing in a superstar mid-season doesn't always work out to a title that year. It normally takes an off-season to rework things and get that chemistry. Well, firing a coach mid-season and bringing in somebody else doesn't always result in a championship either, because then the new coach is going to want to keep things the same, but going to want to also change things. And, it's a big potential mistake. It really comes down to the big mistake is keeping Glenn Rivers, though.
Yeah, I was just looking up the ages. Glenn Rivers is 61, and Sam Cassell is 53. So, I mean, Sam isn't old, but he isn't super young either.
He's young. He's young in the sense
he's young for a coach. He could be young for a head coach.
Maybe young is the wrong term. Fresh voice, fresh innovative ideas, fresh way of doing things, and that's what the trends are. Because maybe the word young was the wrong term there.
Doc is definitely set in his ways, and you're never going to change him. And I'm curious to see how they would perform without Sam, because I think Sam is his top assistant, and he probably does a lot for Rivers in practice and in-game adjustments and things like that.
You see Sam off the bench, running towards the refs or run towards the players a lot more than you see Glenn, off the bench. Glenn sits there with his arms like this, sulked over, hunched over. Glenn needs a good solid year to just play golf. Like I think that's what Glenn really needs to recharge his batteries. a year of golfing 4 times a week. He doesn't need, to be on a sideline anymore. But
could you imagine playing golf with Doc Rivers? He would be a curmudgeon the whole day, ruin the whole day with you.
But you would still go play golf with him if he asked you to, though.
Oh, absolutely. In a heartbeat. In a heartbeat.
All right. So real quick, I want to touch on like a few rumors real quick. I mean, thoughts. I saw a couple people reporting and talking about the rumor. My man, right over my shoulder, right there. There it is. There's the thumb pointing to it. My man, Jimmy Butler. The Sixers are going to make some moves and they're going to make some adjustments to their roster. There's a lot of talk of Danny Green and pick 23 being available in a trade, but that's only going to get you like a wing, a bench piece. It's not going to get you a superstar or whatnot, but there's still a lot of talk, the wind horses of the world, that Jimmy Butler still wants to play with Joel Embiid. And we know the Sixers aren't trading Joel Embiid. Is there any remote world you could see the Sixers making a trade, whether it's moving James Harden or Tobias Harris, picks, everything, as long as it's not Tyrese Maxey? Can you envision a world where it's actually possible to bring Jimmy Butler back? And at his age and the wear and tear the last 2 or 3 years in Miami, would you want Jimmy Butler back with the Sixers?
It's a tough one, Phil. First of all, I don't think Miami will do the deal unless they get the upper end of the deal, because Miami and the Sixers are going to be fighting each other for that to get to the Eastern Conference Finals or in the finals to get to the championship. So I don't know if that would be something that you want to get in bed with either team. As time goes on, like it was a major mistake to let Jimmy Butler walk or piece him in
sports history.
Yeah, that was a mistake. And I think I saw Kendrick Perkins said Embiid needs to be with Butler, but in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I don't know how you get him there.
It's got to involve James Harden. It's got to involve picks and stuff like that. James Harden did originally want to go to Miami before Brooklyn and Philly.
Yeah, but he wants to go there because he likes the nightlife.
Yeah,
he doesn't want to go there because he wants to play for the Heat.
But you look at that team that the Miami Heat have. James Harden loves pick and rolls, and the pick and roll, the pop dunk that they got Bam out of Bayou, perfect for that. That's kind of like his. That would be kind of his DeAndre Jordan from when they were together. They got a lot of shooters on the outside, so he could drive, dish to wide open guys that could shoot the ball. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero said he wants out of Miami if he's not going to be made a starter. You got to find a place for him to start. Getting rid of Jimmy Butler might free up a spot for him. I don't know. I do want to touch on Kendrick Perkins. Kendrick Perkins used to be the biggest troll and clickbait artist. He's actually in the last year or two developed himself into quite the analyst. And a couple things he said, I don't have them on notes in front of me right now. He's actually been damn right on a few things that we thought were whatever. So him saying that he thinks Jimmy Butler and Joel should play together again in Philly, I don't completely write it off. And that's kind of one of the first things that made me think about saying that today was Kendrick Perkins bringing it up. So, I don't know. I don't know how it happens, but I think it has to involve James Harden because, you need the money to transfer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to involve picks. It's got to involve picks. So,
but do we have any picks, though? I mean, we've
got the 23rd pick in this year's draft. And
but then we gave 2 to the Nets. I mean, you can't. Yeah, but you're still going to need those picks. Eventually, you can't keep trading them away.
That's an interesting question because I don't know college basketball as well. I don't get into the draft and who the players are till literally a day or two before the draft. But from what I'm reading is this year's really deep in wing depth, 3-and-D type guys, and it's so deep that at 23. Hypothetically speaking, you could find somebody that could contribute as a defensive player off your bench almost immediately in this year's draft. I don't know. Do you take a young guy or do you move that? Do you move that 23rd pick, Jaden Springer and James Harden for Jimmy Butler? And I still don't think you really haven't even answered the other part. Do you want Jimmy Butler at this point? Because, he plays through all the injuries. You look how he played in the Eastern Conference Finals. He was banged up, putting up 47 points in a game.
How old is he? Is he 32? Is he the same age as Harden? I'm going to look him up.
But it doesn't even matter the age per se. It's the wear and tear. And he's put his body through. a hell of a lot.
He'll be 33 next season. Okay.
That's old in NBA terms.
But damn, he was really good in the playoffs this year.
You talk about missing that edge, that dog mentality, that leader that'll go out there and take a bullet for your team. Well, there's nobody better. Nobody fits those criteria better at the superstar level than Jimmy Butler. So,
I would agree, man. Like, again, like when they traded him and got him out of there, I thought it was a mistake. And when they essentially chose between Tobias and Butler, and it was basically like, who's going to give us less of a problem in the locker room, on the court? And they went with the safe move to protect Brown and Simmons. It's exactly what they did, and it's really gone and backfired on them. It really has, because if they had gotten rid of Tobias and kept Butler, I think things would have been a hell of a lot different. And maybe they make a finals already. I don't know. Maybe that.
Speaking of the finals, NBA Finals tonight, Game 6. Celtics are down 3-2. It's in Boston. Do the Celtics make it a Game 7?
Damn straight they do. There's no way they're going to allow the Warriors come and win the NBA championship at the Garden there. That's not going to happen.
What I'm torn, because I agree with everything you just said there. But the Warriors won their last game, Game 5, with Steph Curry going 0 for 9 from 3. He's not going 0 for 9 from 3 again. So if he doesn't go 0 for 9, I don't know. It's going to be a close game. But I will say this. I said there's 0 chance Boston wins the NBA Finals if the series goes 7. So that to me means there's no way. It doesn't matter to me who wins Game 6 tonight, Boston or the Warriors, because it's going to go 7 or the Warriors are going to win tonight. There's no way the Warriors lose a Game 7 against Boston in Golden State.
You're probably right on that, but again, there's no way that's going to happen. And we've kind of touched on this a little bit, and I've seen some tweets out on there. I don't think the NBA is going to allow the Warriors to win tonight, because they probably want to go to 7 games. And you'll probably see some calls in favor of the Celtics. And I think the Celtics go off and they manhandle the Warriors. I think a decisive win to Game 7, all the marbles, and we'll see how it goes from there. I'm with you. I think the Warriors end up winning the series, but I don't think they win it in 6 games. I think put your money on the Celtics tonight if you have to.
Okay. All right. One final topic. Hold on. I don't get to use it very often, so we're going to put the overlay up. There it is. What's up with the Flyers? I wish Jason was on today, but he's not. But we're going to talk Flyers for 1 second here. Maybe I should change the color too. So we're orange all over the place here.
There you go.
4 or 5 minutes of this show right there. It seems like it's not official yet because they haven't finalized the contract details, but it seems like in preliminary talks, John Tortorella is going to be the new Flyers head coach this upcoming season. So I ask you, is John Tortorella the right coach for the Flyers right now? Because from what I know of John Tortorella, he's a guy that doesn't last long in a lot of cities. He's a tough-nosed, hard-nosed guy, a guy that doesn't pull punches, kind of an asshole to an extent. And this is going to be a very transitional period for the Flyers right now. They got some young talent. They got some veterans. They got a little bit of this and that. They actually have no direction whatsoever. Is John Tortorella the right guy? I think he was a Flyers coaching candidate like 2 coaches ago. 2 coaching changes.
Yeah, he was. I think he would have been more valuable when Claude Giroux was here, because I think Claude needed a kick in the ass from somebody that can give that kick in the ass. I just, a lot of people like Claude. I didn't think he was bad, but there were 2 big factions, one that hated him and one that loved him. And I think he, as a captain, he could have done more. And I think with Torts as the head coach, he would have kicked somebody in the ass, especially some of the former Flyer teams that were underperformers. He would have kicked them in the ass. Here, he's going to inherit a team that just has nothing. And who's he going to kick in the ass?
Is he the guy you want helping a rebuild or a retooling? I don't think he's the guy. I'm looking at his history here. He started coaching. Well, he coached 3 games. I guess it was an assistant or something like that. Because he coached 3 games or 4 games in 99, 2000 with the Rangers. Then he went to Tampa Bay, and he missed his first 2 playoffs. But then he went, playoffs, 1 Stanley Cup, playoff, missed playoffs, missed. He's made the playoffs. He's missed the playoffs only 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 times in his coaching career, and he's been coaching for 21 years. He's only missed the playoffs 4 or 5 times. He's not a guy that sticks around for those kind of things. Normally, he misses the playoffs and then gets fired after that.
Yeah, I think his act probably wears thin if you're not winning. But listen, we're not winning anyway. Let's give it a shot. I'll tell you, we were days away from having 3 head coaches with an Italian American background, and I was kind of excited for that. I'll take 2 though. But I mean, I've seen some videos tweeted out on how he treats the press, and it's pretty funny. One of the things he asked the New York reporter, he asked him if he got beat up at the bus stop because he didn't like something that was written about. I thought it was funny, and all things said, like the Flyers are a vanilla organization with no life, no personality. He's perfect to do that, and then you have to start questioning. What's the GM's role in this? And Chuck Fletcher, supposedly he was taken out of the decision-making process, and Torts is not his guy. There's also whispers that they offered the job to Barry Trotz first, and he declined. And I think he declined because he wasn't given or wasn't going to be given the opportunity to head up the whole organization, because I think that's what he wants. I'm okay with Tortorella coming. I think he'll provide some excitement, but like everything else, like they have to win. They have to make the playoffs. And if they do, that stadium will start to get filled again, and there'll be some noise about the Flyers. I don't know if he's going to be able to get them to the Cup or anything like that. They just don't have a squad, man. They're really not in a great place roster-wise, and I don't know if he'll be able to fit that. The only thing he could do is do the best that he can with the players that he's given, and the players that he's given aren't really that good.
I think you really hit it nailed it in the head that he was probably better suited to be this coach like 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying we would have won a cup, but we definitely would have had a hell of a better chance at winning a cup if he was here 5-6 years ago. Some of those guys like Claude Giroux, he would have definitely kicked them in there. I just don't, you got young guys like Carter Hart. It's like I'm getting confused. I'm about to say Carter Hart, and I'm thinking of Carter Hart. I'm like, what the hell? He's engraved that in my head now. What's he gonna do when Carter Hart has a bad day? Is he gonna kick him in the ass? The kid, he's a kid. You know what I mean? Yeah, I just.
Yeah, but you're saying he's a kid, but he's got to grow up.
No, I know.
He's got to. And I get it that he has some mental anguish issues and sees a therapist and things like that. Torts is not going to be, hey, everything will be okay kind of coach. So, but you know what? If you play professional sports, a lot of your coaches are hard asses, and they try to squeeze out the best performance out of you.
The other thing I'm going to say about him, I mean, it kind of fits with the Joe Girardi, Glenn Rivers vibe too. I mean, he won his Stanley Cup as a coach in 2003-04. It's been a long time since he's even.
That's 18 years ago.
He hasn't even made the cup. He hasn't even made the cup since then. So I mean, he makes the playoffs, but he's a 1 and done, 2 and done kind of playoff coach. Are we just setting ourselves up for another kind of, a guy that's a little past his prime of leading a team?
I think it's a short-term fix to a long-term problem. I think they have a serious problem with interest. I don't think there's a lot of people out there, except your hardcore Flyers fans, they're still interested in this team. It really took me aback this year is the emptiness of that stadium that I have never, ever seen in all my years on this earth. That stadium was always filled, and it was not. What's that?
Didn't matter how bad they were, even preseason games, it was packed.
Yeah, and it wasn't there. And then I've seen some tweets from season ticket holders on how desperate the sales department is to sell tickets and offering these crazy packages to non-season ticket holders, pissing off the season ticket holders. So they have an attendance problem. They have, and you know, they used to joke that all 17,000 Flyers fans would be at the Spectrum every home game, and it was a niche sport. But you know, and what's weird though is I think their ratings are still on the higher side, although they have dropped. So they need to inject some life into this organization somewhere, whether it's on the ice, the head coach. I mean, something. I think they're kind of grasping a little bit at straws, but I don't think they have a choice right now because everything else that they've done the past 5 years or so just has not worked. And they kind of like the Phillies bullpen. They've tried everything and nothing has worked. So, yeah, go get John Tortorella. He'll be very, very entertaining. And early on, he'll grab some people in. And if they can win games as they're grabbing people in, I think they can have a very successful season. But I do think he's a short-term fix to really a long-term problem. There's a lot of other things that are broken on this team.
Excellent. Interesting, though. I think that's the longest we've spent on this morning show talking Flyers. I had this huge grand scheme of talking Flyers regularly on this show, and this past season kind of destroyed that whole thought process right there. But anyway, we're going to wrap the show up there for the day, Trending in the AM right here on DSM Media. It's been a fantastic week so far, but don't worry, there's still one more day this week of Trending in the AM. Football Friday's back tomorrow. We're going to talk football tomorrow. We'll probably talk baseball. We'll probably talk basketball. We'll probably talk a little bit of everything, and Jason will be back tomorrow. So I'm going to get his thoughts on John Tortorella as well. So we'll talk a little bit of everything. I am Phil Stifle, your host at Beard and Knowledge. Make sure you shoot me follow. Make sure you shoot my follow to my main man here, Mark Cassell, at Mark with a C and a bunch of underscores. Everybody have a great Thursday. U.S. Open is underway, my friend. Let's go. Joaquin Niemann. I am all in on Joaquin Niemann winning the U.S. Open. You can go get a late bet. Go throw a buck or two on Joaquin Niemann. Everybody have a great day, and let's ring the bell, baby.
Yeah, baby.